Welcome to Sisters in Sobriety. Today, we are thrilled to welcome CATT SADLER. CATT is a veteran broadcaster and media personality whose career spans decades. She has gone from an entertainment reporter and host on networks like E! to launching her own production company and podcast, CATT SADLER Now. And beyond her on camera achievements, what we're most excited about is the journey CATT is willing to share today, which is her decision to quit drinking, what the early days of that change felt like, and the tools she uses now to cope with stress, manage emotions, and reinvent what life looks like alcohol-free. Welcome, Kat.
Thank you so much for having me. It just dawned on me, this is really the first time I've been speaking about this in this type of format or conversation with another human being. I've been writing about it quite a lot, but thank you for having me to talk about it. I am an open book.
You're welcome. That's how I felt the first time I talked about it. I had read Quit Lit and listened to podcasts of other people's stories, but the first time I had to tell mine, I was like, let me think about that for a second.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, it takes you back. So let's take it back. You grew up in Indiana. What was your earliest exposure to alcohol in your family or in your community? How did that culture you grew up in shape your beliefs about drinking?
Well, I did grow up in a drinking culture for certain. I think most everyone, the adults in my family drank moderately and at holidays and at events and at social gatherings. So it was always a fixture in my life growing up. No doubt about that. In my later part of my adolescence and teen years, I moved to a small town, and I would say it even increased at that time. Um I don't think my stepdad will mind me speaking about this, but he had some battles with alcohol to this day that, he's kind of been working on his whole life. So I remember that being a difficult challenge of his, which is of course something that affected our whole family. Happy to say he's doing well and he's healthy today, which is wonderful. But I was definitely aware of the damage alcohol could do. And I definitely had some fears surrounding alcohol. And as a teenager, believe it or not, I was actually pretty abstinent. Like I didn't really like do drugs and alcohol. I had a couple sips of alcohol my senior year of high school, but I wasn't like I didn't abuse it. Um, it wasn't until college that I would say that I was like most of my friends and people that I would associate with that drank casually or at parties or, for a good time.
And so, do you remember using alcohol in college as a social lubricant, or you felt like your relationship with alcohol was pretty normal those years?
I feel like it was pretty normal, to be honest. I was so busy and ambitious and had such a full life, both personally and even professionally. Even in college, I had internships, I had a part time job, I had then a job in my first newsroom my senior year of college. I was in a band, and I do remember there being, alcohol was a part of that performing for me,
Mhm.
like taking the edge off, not being nervous to get up in front of a crowd. But it never dawned on me then that it was really an issue because I don't think it was. But it was a part of my life for certain. Um, that's what I really remember about that time.
So so if we fast forward a bit to your years at E, which seemed like high profile, high pressure, looking back, how did alcohol fit into that chapter for you?
I think alcohol and my, higher profile public life, the entertainment industry, being a young mother of two. I went through a divorce during that season of my life. So there was so much pressure from all angles. And I wrote about this a little bit in my Substack, which is called Substantial. But looking back in reflection only, because I think I missed it at the time entirely, but I was definitely in survival mode. My nervous system was completely out of whack. I was just trying to, stay above water. I had a lot of pressure on my job to perform, and I loved what I did. I had a really charmed, lovely life during that period, but I didn't stop. And so alcohol for sure was a part of industry events and red carpets and award shows and travels and film premieres. I mean, it was always there, and it was always available, and it was always offered, and I always said yes. So, it was, a definite constant. Now, I wouldn't say at that time I was drinking every day of the week, but I was drinking 4 or 5 days a week, and luckily for me, I wasn't binging, and I wasn't, like, not remembering the night before. I'm not saying that didn't ever happen, but that wasn't like a chronic issue. It was just a little bit. It was just enough that, I was always lubricated just a tad, and then I cruised in that gear for many, many years.
And when did you notice that your relationship with alcohol was progressing or changing?
I don't really think it changed. I think I changed, to be honest, and about 5 or 6 years ago, I was in a really bad breakup. It was the pandemic, and I was alone with myself for the first time in a long time. My kids had gotten older. The really intense work schedule had lessened, and I was just able to come back to myself in a way that allowed me to get really honest with myself. And so I started this journey of healing, I would say in 2019, 2020. A lot of it had to do with love addiction. A lot of it had to do with some wounds from childhood. A lot of it had to do with insecurities about myself, self doubt. And the alcohol tie in really didn't come until, I read that book, Quit Like a Woman. And I wanna say
Yeah.
that was probably 2021 maybe when that came out, and that was while I was on my healing journey, and I read that book and I saw myself in so many of her stories, and it was so illuminating on so many levels, and so I
Yeah.
went. And also at that time, my assistant, this gal, Katie, I don't think she'll mind me saying her name, she's this wonderful girl, and she worked for me, so we worked together every single day, and she decided, I don't know if it was on a whim, but she's like, "I'm not gonna drink anymore." And she quit and she stopped drinking. And, I had this conversation with the author of Quit Like a Woman. She was on my podcast. So the more I dove into what a life without alcohol could look like,
Right.
the more these little nudges and whispers were bubbling up at the surface. If I was, because the more I was journaling, I had to really look at myself. The more I was interrogating my lifestyle and behavior, I had to really look at myself. And alcohol always kept coming up. Cut to, I met my now partner of 4 years, and he has never, nor has he desired to drink. And it's like he could take it or leave it. He'll have like a sip of something on a very special occasion. It's never been in his life. It was never in his family. They never had a bar in the home. And so partnering with him, this man that I believe I summoned into my life for a really healthy adult relationship, that already kind of cradled me in a way where I thought, oh my gosh, not only is this great to be with a partner who can take it or leave it, it really put a mirror up to my own behavior. Because then I was like, oh, why do I need a blue moon just to take a walk on my property to go look at the birds? Why do I have to have a gin and tonic just because we're at a fancy restaurant? So it was really that self assessment and honesty. And there was some shame. I mean, there's definitely some shame attached to knowing good and well that the times I would choose to drink were not always, because like I said, you know, I'll still to this day say, "It was fun." If people ask me, I'll be like, "I enjoyed the buzz," like, I still can relate to it that way in reflection, but truly, I started getting into this real spiritual space with myself, but 2 very distinct spiritual things happened to me. I really was upping the amount of meditation I was doing. I was really increasing my exercise and fitness. And I really got on this journey maybe 2 years ago, asking myself, what does the highest version of myself look like? And that version of myself didn't drink. it was really that simple. And so I said, if I'm really going to ascend into this person and really evolve into this person I preach about and talk to my audience about and who I want to be, I got to walk the walk. And why haven't I? And why can't I? And why has it been difficult for me? And so I started meditating so deeply this past summer. And oh, I should cut back. My last birthday in August, so we're talking August of 2024, I was on a bit of a wellness retreat and I was doing yoga. I was in this class with this wonderful instructor, and I was really kind of in this space of vulnerability, but also really dialed into my spirit, I would say. And I had this voice come to me in that yoga class, and it said, stay and your wildest dreams will come true. And I was like, stay. And right away, I knew it was about alcohol. Stop leaving yourself, stay with yourself. And the funny thing is I filed that. And I would say my drinking lessened because I was being more intentional about my drinking. I mean, I'm talking a couple days a week and a couple glasses of, whatever. But it wasn't until I got another kind of spiritual nudge again while I was journaling this past July or August. And it was like, what is the biggest block in your life? What is the thing keeping you from your highest self? And that next nudge, this kind of voice, call it what you will, or my inner knowing said, turn the page. Your future depends on it. Turn the page. And I knew again, I was like, it's about alcohol. And then I was turning 51 in August, and a couple days before my birthday, I just looked at Greg and I said, I think I'm done. And he's like, what? I was like, I think I'm done. And I haven't had a drink since. And that was today, 92 days ago.
And during your relationship, had Greg ever commented on your drinking? Had he ever noticed, like, oh, yeah, she needs a blue moon to go for a walk around the property?
Yes, 100%. Yeah. He would be like, really? Do you need that? Why do you do that? And I think if I'm honest, there were parts of me that were a little defensive about that. Like, let
Mm.
me live. Let me live. What's the problem? Just let me live. I
Yeah.
think Greg has seen me drunk once in 4 years. So it wasn't that it was hurting my relationships. It wasn't that it was keeping me back from my, professional ambitions. It wasn't like it was affecting
Yeah.
my family, but I felt like I didn't align with that person anymore. And then once I did decide, then it became about, I really want to experiment with this because it's like, what am I capable of? And what if I did have more clarity? What if I did have more energy? What if I woke up feeling different and didn't have to pop an Advil because, I had too much wine with my girlfriends the night before? Like, I just want to know. I want to see what that is about. I want to go on that journey. And then it became about, my children have always seen me drink, and I definitely have had incidents or occasions or a New Year's Eve or something where I'll look back and go, "Ooh, I don't feel good about the way I behaved. I wasn't mean or angry, but I was sloppy, and I'm not proud of that, and what am I modeling for my kids even though they're now adults?" So now that's a piece for me as well, is that I just want to be an example. Like, I think, and I'm sure you talk about this on your show, that there's more and more and more evidence about, the harm it does to our bodies physically. And it's just like, there's too much love going on today. I love myself too much to do that. And I want to show this to my children as, what is available to them as well.
When you talk about that love and that journey to get there, I know you talked a little bit about meditation and health and fitness and journaling. Can you talk a little bit more about meditation in your practice?
Sure. Um, I've been consistently meditating, I want to say, for about 3 years. And I am by no means any kind of guru or expert, but it just started with a lot of different apps, various apps that I would try. The Open app, I'm on quite a bit. Insight Timer, I'm on quite a bit. Activations is another app that I would listen to when I would be walking or moving or driving or whatever. And I would say 2 years ago, it was my New Year's resolution. I said, I want to meditate every day in 2024, I think it was. And then I really did start to show up for myself in that way, and I think my meditation started to feel deeper and truer and more still, and more was revealed to me, I think, through these meditations. And then I really do have to credit a man by the name of Matt Cook. He is a manifestation coach, and we became friends. He was on my podcast, and we had such a popular episode and people just loved his teachings, but I did his course. It's called Evolve. And it's really about the neuroscience and the rewiring that we can do for ourselves to attract into our life what we want and be our best future self now. And I started studying neuroplasticity, and it's like, wait, if I continue in my brain through meditations to think about who she is, the me that I want to be, the me that I want to remember, the me that I know that I really am, if you strip away the shame and the bad stories or the, bad incidents from my past, I can return to her. And so my meditations just really have become a craving of mine that I do not like to miss. And with a little puppy in the last 4 or 5 days, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can feel myself. My nervous system is a little off because I haven't slept and I haven't been meditating, but it really, really transforms my everyday, the way I move through the day, how I feel. It allows me to get centered. And yeah, I credit those for definitely making a difference and allowing me to really reflect on my behavior and get honest about that piece of my life.
Would you say to someone listening, someone like me who has tried meditation, I'll download the app, I'm like, "I'm gonna do the 14-day Deepak Chopra challenge," and then halfway through, I just think I'm doing it wrong.
Mm.
And what is one small thing we can do to start meditating today that you think wouldn't overwhelm us? Is it just downloading an app? Is it taking that Evolve course with Matt Cook? What is something someone listening can do today?
It's a really good question. I'm glad you asked that question because sometimes I think the meditation world kind of overlooks the beginner and like, how do I even enter this space? And I too, in the past, I'd be like, "Yeah, I'll meditate one day when I'm 70 or something." Same thing with yoga. My mom tried to get me to do yoga my whole life, and it wasn't until I was really ready that then I understood it and I could appreciate the practice. But I would say number one, I mean, the reason I love Matt's Evolve course for any, I mean, there are so many, self practices, self-love courses out there today. A lot of coaches, really great coaches online today that can kind of help you with your evolution if you want to. But I think it gives you more of a system that you can work, with this course of his, for example, is an online digital course, and some of the lessons were 5 minutes a day, some were 20 minutes a day, but it really allows you to look at your virtues, your belief system. Like it really lets you detail, it guides you to detail really what's important to you and what you want for your life. And we're all so busy and we don't really slow down to take that inventory. And it kind of gives you this framework to start to see where you are in life and where you want to go with your life. And then there are these practices throughout the videos that he'll have you do to kind of get clear on that. He also is a meditation coach. I think he has 5 to 10 meditations online that you can purchase for a very small amount, or they come with the course. But a lot of his meditations, I will say, very different from most of them. They are a mental rehearsal type of meditation versus a breathe and sit still for 3 minutes. Like there is a journey that you go on in your brain. It's a lot of visualization, it's a lot of mental
Mm.
rehearsal. And I loved his meditations for that reason. I think when you are still enough, you tap into your subconscious and then you are matching that with real emotion. Those kind of lit a fire for me. And that's when I really started to do again, crave meditation versus feel like it was a chore. The other thing I would say for people starting out with meditation is breath work is huge because so many people don't want to sit still. They don't love the voices in their head. They don't know how to stop that soundtrack that's ongoing for all of us. I think breath work is very useful. The Open app has some guided breathing meditations, and that just, for me, would allow me to drop into my body versus just like getting distracted and then thinking about my to-do list for the day. I mean, the research is there. It really does physically calm you, which makes you more receptive to whatever that meditation is. So I think that's a good place to start.
The first kind of like early changes of when you went alcohol free, what did you notice? And it sounds like you had been cutting back to very little for a while, but did you notice changes in your sleep, in your mood, in your relationships, in your body? Were you able to go deeper into the meditation?
Yes, definitely deeper into the meditation. I would say the first things I noticed were better sleep. Yes. More energy. My mornings, it's like my morning is my drug now. I mean, truly, like I am so on fire from the minute I open my eyes. I just love being at one with the birds, getting the sun on my face, drinking my coffee. Everything feels like I'm looking through this lens that is so clear that everything is more magical to me than it ever was. I'm not kidding you. I was staring at a pet toy just yesterday. Do you know those little lamb pet toys that like are so popular, the little cream ones with the little red on their
Yes.
toes or whatever? All my dogs have had that little toy, and I just got that toy again for my new dog. And it was the first time we were sitting on the couch, and I studied that pet toy for some reason. I was like, oh, look at the lashes, look at the detail, look at the, and I thought, oh my, this is my clean brain. This is my clean body. It just like I am not, there's the fuzziness isn't there, and I'm able to look at all of the details of life in a different way. And so I noticed that. I definitely noticed that. And it's not even been 100 days. Um, I think my face looks brighter. I think I don't look as puffy. Um, so yeah, I mean, in all ways, it's been positive. What's interesting for me that I did not expect, because I've done some 30-day dry Januaries in my life, and usually I'm like on day 25, I'm like, when's my wine done? And I could barely make it to 30 days. I didn't want to. I didn't want to. The difference this time is that I feel like the craving has almost completely dissolved. And I know that's probably not most people's experience. And
Yeah.
trust me, it was so unexpected. But like, I think because of the meditation, because of the prayer, because of this journey I'm on, it's like I don't align with her anymore. And so
Yeah.
now when I go out, it's not like I'm like, those are my people or this is my bar seat. It's just really like I am so much more at peace that a club soda and cranberry is good. I'm good. Like, and I can still be there for, the fun or the laughs or the experience. I remember it better. And then the next day I feel better. And there really is, there's no downside except for I will speak to, moments when I think the cleansing in and of itself has left me restless. There have been a couple times. So that wasn't really, those weren't cravings, but there have been a couple sad moments for me or uh, unsettled feelings. And that's when it becomes clear to me like, ooh, this is the moment. This is when I'd probably go for a drink. This is the moment. And it's back to that staying with myself and just letting the feelings pass. And they do go away. But I don't want to pretend that it's all so easy. There are moments where I felt like I had to stay with some pretty raw feelings and discomfort um, that did dissolve, but it wasn't fun.
I always tell people I think a craving lasts like 20 minutes usually,
Yeah.
or that discomfort. But what did you find yourself doing in those moments? Did you go for a walk? Did you watch Netflix? What do you find yourself going to? And is it intentional?
I would say half the time it's intentional. Yes, go outside, move your body, walk, look at the trees, take in the fresh air. I live in the mountains. I am so, so lucky to have this land where we live, where it really is medicine for me. The other times, I will go straight to the freezer and have a pint of ice cream, or I will turn on Netflix. And in those moments, when I start to go, oh, we shouldn't be doing this, I give myself complete grace. I'm like, girl, look how far you have come. Look how far you have come. You are winning here. This is a win. It's okay. You can have some ice cream. You can sit in bed for 3 hours and watch Netflix. So I think it's being kind to ourselves in those moments. And I don't sweat it really.
Yeah, I don't either. There were some really hard times during my divorce too, where I thought drinking would be great. And I just like watched Bridgerton and ate ice cream. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned your morning practice, your morning routine. I would love to know more. I know on Instagram you posted mornings are sacred. So what does your morning routine look like? And is it different now for like the last 90 something days?
Well, pre-puppy, I can tell you what it was like. Um,
It'll never get back there again, by the
yeah,
way, because the
no,
puppy
I
always comes first. They have to go out
I
first thing in
know.
the morning.
Yes, I'm gonna have to adjust the morning schedule. But I would say since I stopped drinking, my morning ritual, I've just been better at staying consistent. It's roughly been the same for the last year or so, but I'm nailing it now because I am so laser focused on all of the parts of my morning practice. When I'm in bed, I really try to the moment I really try the moment I open my eyes to just say thank you. That is so easy, but makes such a difference. I'm just grateful to have another day. I have 4 affirmations that I repeat out loud that came to me by Joe Dispenza, if you're familiar with his work. And they are affirmations, and they are my energy creates my reality. I am the creator of my destiny. I am complete and whole as I am right now, and I am open to the infinite possibilities for my life. And I say those and I feel those very deeply. And I try to really connect with the emotion of that and taking a big, long, deep breath, which is a great thing to do before you check your phone. Then I check my phone right away to see if my kids have texted me and there wasn't an emergency overnight. That doesn't last long. And then I try to just move into the kitchen. I am definitely a big coffee person. So I have my first coffee and it depends, but I love to do my meditation with my first cup of coffee because usually Greg isn't awake yet. And if we have our kids, they're not awake yet. I've definitely been getting up earlier. This whole schedule has kind of shifted earlier since I stopped drinking because I'll pop up at like 5:30 now sometimes, which is crazy. Where it used to be maybe 7 something. And so I love that. That's the sacred part for me are those moments when the house is quiet. It's just the coffee and I, and then I'll do my meditation or meditations. Sometimes I do more. There are so many free meditations on YouTube that I have my settings set to just kind of always be getting newly recorded meditations on YouTube. And those are free and those are so easy. So minimum of 10 minutes. Sometimes I'll do 30 minutes. Um, and then a gratitude journal. That's the other
Okay.
must do, want to do piece of my day when we express gratitude for things as simple as like our pumpkin spice creamer in our coffee. It's like you are in a state of receivership and more abundance comes your way throughout the day. I really do believe that. And so my gratitude journal is, kind of like chicken scratch. It's not that fancy or formal, but I'm just like free writing everything that I am, happened the day before, all the things I'm grateful for, all the things that I know that are coming that day. And if I have enough time, I also like to write and give thanks for things that haven't happened yet. So I usually spend like a couple minutes, maybe 3 to 5 things that I'm just like really, wanting to happen in my life. So I'll go ahead and give thanks for those before they've even happened. And then I'm usually outside. So usually the sun has come up by then. And that's when I just will walk for 10 minutes and just be with nature. We have so many birds here where I am. So I'm just try to be eyes open, looking up, looking at the hawks, checking out the birds, seeing what's going on in nature. And I really do get this overwhelming sense of happiness from just that series of things over and over again every day. It's just it's really, really beautiful. But I think that's it. I don't think I'm leaving anything out. Like I try to exercise, and if I do, I love to exercise in the morning, but I'm usually on my emails and working by 10.
So we love journaling here at Sisters
Yeah.
in Sobriety.
Right. Like
How does journaling fit in? You do the gratitude journal, and it sounds like you
mhm,
do some manifesting.
mhm.
But in general, what is your journaling practice like, and can you give us any tips?
Yeah. Beyond the gratitude journal, it kind of varies. I mean, it's kind of all over the place. I've had a spiritual guides journey, which is like almost like writing a prayer to my spiritual guides, asking for guidance, asking for, whatever's going on in my life, any challenges, any, stubborn things that are going on. I'm kind of like co-creating with my spiritual guides. So I'll write a lot about what that might be like. I've done that off and on for some time. I will sometimes write in a journal, which is simply strictly affirmations, kind of like the ones I do when I wake up, but these are more specific, very pointed affirmations about, whether it's wanting to achieve a professional goal, whether it's wanting to hit a financial goal, whether it's wanting to manifest, even for my children or people in my life or friends. I will kind of affirm things as if they have happened. So I think that's really powerful. I don't know if everybody does that, but it's really fun to do that. The more you do that, you're kind of like, why haven't I always done this? It's kind of amazing, especially when you see those things start to come to fruition. It's crazy. Um, I also have been trying to play a little bit with like crafting with journaling. I have a very good friend. Her name is Amy Tangerine. She's written a couple books on play and the importance of creative play with, our overall peace, joy, and happiness. And so she's been challenging me a little bit to cut out, sticker, paint, markers, just kind of like draw various things as an outlet to kind of lighten up a little bit too. Because listen, I mean, everything we're talking about is pretty serious, right? We're all trying to heal, we're trying to not drink. There's so much effort that we put into trying to organize our life so that we are living it well and optimizing and all that. But I definitely can be guilty of being serious Sally about all this. And so I think it's important to infuse play when you can and have fun. And again, just take a deep breath and be flexible with all of it and be fluid with all of it if you can. So it's like this beautiful balance of having the structure, working the plan, because then you're showing up for yourself and you love yourself at the same time, giving yourself grace and just, lightening up a little bit. For me, that's kind of the two worlds I'm trying to balance.
There's something about, like, getting in touch with that childlike version. So when my niece is 11, when she stays with me at night, I'll say, "We're journaling. I don't care if you draw something, if you whatever it is, it doesn't matter to me, but we're doing something." And she'll draw a picture, and then we'll talk about it. And so,
So cute. So
yeah, it
cute.
kind of, like, inspired me too. I'm like, "Well, she's getting out so much with this." And, yeah, it doesn't have to be serious. I do a lot of letter writing too in my
See, I
journal.
haven't done that. I would like to do that. What do you do?
I will write letters to people. I won't ever send them, but
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
just let it all out. So there's, like, to my ex-husband, so many letters with so many, like, just cursing. And I've noticed over the past couple of years, they've gotten, like, a little more reflective and a little more forgiving. And yeah, it really helped during that time. And this other thing I write letters about is when I have to set a boundary with somebody and I don't know how to do it. And so sometimes it's almost like role playing when I'm writing a letter to them.
Interesting. That is so cool. I need to try that. I really need to try that. There are some friends I have who I know also do that, and a couple authors I know that have done that to make peace with their past. I have never tried that. I should try that. There's definitely some people I could write some letters to.
Yeah, I mean, I think you feel it when you're ready to do it. You'll feel it. You'll have something on your mind and you'll think, I think I just want to write it. It's almost there is that step. I'm not in AA, but like the idea of amends, right? But the idea of getting out what you're feeling about somebody without having to cause any pain is kind of nice.
Yes. Yes. Although I am writing my first book, so I have been
So am
contemplating that
I.
very thing quite a bit.
So am
And
I.
you are,
Yes. And
isn't it interesting?
I've written, so it's actually with an editor getting edited, like a line edit, and I just let it out. Like they said, just write everything and then edit later. Like, don't think about how someone's gonna feel. Don't think about, and so Yikes.
Yeah. Everyone says like, "Oh, it's so cathartic to write a book," but it's actually it can be quite, at least for me, it brought up a lot of anxiety. And you know, it's that one thing to like go back to your past and try to remember it. It's so interesting. I think we all, it's like, do I remember it as it was? Do I remember it how I
Yeah.
thought it was? Like it's pretty wild. But there is some consideration for sure, that it is memoir-esque, that there are certain people that I'm a little concerned about their feelings when the day comes. But I'm like you, I'm kind of not there yet. So we'll see what actually makes the book. But if it makes the book or it doesn't make the book, it's definitely allowed me to get very real about what I went through and also make peace with it and let it go, because it's like you don't want it to live on forever. And so in that way, it's been really good.
I went through a memoir course through the Novelry, and it's the 1-year course, and they they keep reminding you to take breaks and be kind with yourself after, like, a particularly reflective session, and so sometimes you may need to put it down for a few days and come back to it, and so yeah, what years is yours spanning? Is it your entire life, or is it a snapshot?
The whole half a century. Yes, I can't even say the working title yet, but it's memoir meets prescriptive. So it's really a love
Oh, yeah.
story on helping people learn how to love themselves at the end of the day. I think we go around saying, love yourself. You should love yourself. You should be kind to yourself. Treat yourself like you treat a friend. But it's like, how do I do that? How do I do that? So I'm hoping to give people really the blueprint through my own personal experiences of how far I've come and what my healing journey looked like and all the various things that I've done that have allowed me to get here. But it's met with the stories of my past, starting from 4 years old, well, 2 years old when my parents were divorced. And so a lot of my upbringing, a lot of my journey, a lot of my adult toxic relationships, like it's all in there. And then, I don't want to say a happy ending, but certainly an opportunity, an invitation, an offering for other women who maybe have also been through it in all these ways to go, my story isn't written yet. There's still a lot of life we have left to go. And what might that look like? And so the alcohol piece is definitely in this love letter to myself. It's really, it's almost like the final piece of the puzzle that was just hanging out here for a while, that was kind of just gnawing at me. It's kind of like you're just better than this. You are, you don't even know what is possible. It's just been that nice little fuzzy numbing your whole adult life. So why don't we just set that down? And so far, so good. I do think about things like, well, it's going to be Thanksgiving and I'm hosting and I have all my family here and I have the most beautiful bottle of red wine in my cabinet that my friend made at his winery. And I'm like, I guess I'll just serve it to everybody. But why couldn't I? I still have those little conversations like, what would really be the harm? And now it's not that it's the harm. Now it's like, because I've come so far, it just so would not be worth it. It'd be over in 10 minutes. And then I'd be like, why did I even do that? So, I do still have those conversations. I'm still very human in that. But yeah, at this point, I'm not going back. I'm not going back. And I truly believe, again, this is me, my new spiritual self. I really believe that all of this is aligning for a reason. And if I'm really giving up my life and trusting in what is meant for me, then why would I turn my back on all the signs I've gotten that are telling me that this is better? Your life is going to be a lot better without it. So I'm leaning in.
So with the holidays coming up, are you thinking about starting some new traditions that are alcohol-free to mark these celebrations? What are you thinking? Are you gonna have non-alcoholic beverages? What is the plan?
Oh, yes. I will say I am really loving a lot of the NA beverages on the market. Like, I'm like, this is like great. This is fine. This is wonderful. So I love, like, right now I'm having just a sparkling water, and it's again, I'm not the doctor and I'm not a scientist, but the way we have done a thing our whole
Yeah.
lives. It's the unwiring, it's the unlearning. And so there is just something about holding a cold beverage in my hand where it's like, this will do. I don't feel
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm being punished, It's just it's nice. It just gives me a little calm. It's fine. Um, I'm sure that I'll have that around the Thanksgiving table. I will say I was just visiting my son at college. He's a junior at IU. And that was a tough one because I was at tailgates, I was at frat parties, I was like with all his friends raging at a football game. And I was the only sober person. And that was a huge challenge for me. Huge challenge. And it wasn't until I saw him after that weekend. Um, just went back to the university recently for work, and we were at dinner, and again, great steakhouse. And he said, well, or I said to Greg, I said, oh, they have a great wine list. You should have a glass of wine. And he's like, no, I'm good. Cause he always just says, no, I'm good. And then Orion said to me, well, if he has a glass, are you going to have a sip? And I was like, no. And he was like, "Fit, mom, good for you." Like, he was so, like, cheering for me, and I think he was just being, like, chill about it, and not saying much, and certainly I'm not telling him what he should or shouldn't do, but when I saw him cheer for me like that over that response, it made me so happy. Like, our kids are watching us. Our family are taking note of our choices. And so that really encourages me on even more to like stay the course because it's just like, oh, that's so sweet that he was so proud that I wouldn't just, for that one moment even deter from the plan. So I mean, we'll see. I'm sure the holidays are hard. They are filled with stress. There's Christmas, holidays. My partner's Jewish. Like we do all the traditions and all the celebrations. But no, I think I haven't even thought about like a non-alcoholic eggnog. Maybe there is, such a
There
thing. I love dairy. We'll do it.
there is. Yeah, I'm an award-winning aunt. I have 3 nieces, and I'm so much cooler now that I don't drink to them.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
beautiful.
like, I don't yeah, they nobody wants your drunk aunt showing up to stuff. It's not cute after a certain point,
It's
and
not.
I'm so much more engaged
Yes.
in their lives, and so one of them, the 21-year-old, just went through a breakup, and I think this all the time, and I think if this was 10 years ago, I mean, well, she would have been 11, but if it was 10 years ago, I would have, like, taken over some wine, and we would have, commiserated, and, I took over some Dubai chocolate, and we watched The Summer I Turned Pretty, and we talked for hours and hours about this breakup, but it really hit me how different that situation would have been if we, like, threw alcohol on it and how engaged we would have been. I felt like I could really feel her pain.
That is so, so beautiful. That's really interesting. You're right. You would have maybe not even remembered that special bonding and it would have been more flame on the fire. Would have just kicked the problem down kick the can to the curb, kick the problem down the road, right? It would still be there. It would still be there, but because you were
Yeah,
present, you're probably able to help her in that moment rather than just
yeah,
kind of escape the reality of what was going on. And so, oh, that's beautiful.
yeah, and I feel like I got to show her that too, like, "This is how we're gonna get through it," you
Right.
know?
And she can use that who knows how many times in the rest of her life.
Yeah,
Just
so speaking of situations, like social situations, how have those been going? Like parties, dinners, work events? I know I avoided them for the first few months, and now I look back and I wish I hadn't, but I found myself, like, if I knew there was going to be a lot of drinking, I would decline events, but how has that been going?
it hasn't been that jarring for me because, again, I feel like this was all just happening in the right time. Um, we moved out to this ranch about 2 year and a half ago, and so I'm already like I'm more removed from the dinners, the
Mhm.
work events, the constant, oh, let's just meet at such and such at the bar. Like, so I'm already kind of on this island of my own, which is my protective little bubble, which has been really helpful. And for the times that I have met a friend for dinner or, like I said, gone to a college campus, I just am really conscious about what I'm doing, and I'll plan in advance, I'll meditate in advance, and I bought my first in a Blue Moon six pack when I was there. So, I mean, there are options for us that do make you feel like, okay, I'm still normal. I'm still a part of society. There's a little something for me, but so far it's been okay. It's been fine because I'm so looking forward to the rewards that I know are coming because of this choice I've made.
So
It's like a delayed gratification, right? Like that's
it
so
is.
hard for us, but it's just like I just know that if I can navigate this one event or this one occasion or this one holiday, I will just feel so good later. And that's just going to stay with me. And I'll tell you the one other huge reward and gift of this little journey of mine is that the moment I started speaking about it with my Instagram audience and my Substack audience and my podcast audience, which, by the way, was a consideration in and of itself. Like, should I even talk about this? I mean, does it really matter? Do people want to hear? And then I just authentically on a whim, without really thinking, said, hey, this is what I'm up to. And then when I did, woo, the floodgates opened and everybody wants to talk about it. Everybody wants to share their journey. And I cannot tell you how many women I have heard from literally all over the world in different countries who are DMing me who are like, okay, wait, so how'd you do it? How'd you stop? Where are you at? And I've just been having these conversations. I'm sure your podcast, like, wow, like the reach you're making, the impact you're making. I'm experiencing, fraction of that, but it just feels so, so good to be connecting with other women about this. It's so important, and everyone deserves to be free of all of the heaviness and yuckiness and toxins that come with this thing called alcohol. So if I could just do my little part and share a little bit of my story and maybe be a cheerleader for some people as they are facing it or even considering it, what their life might look like without it, then who knew? I didn't plan this. This wasn't on my vision board or, whatever for what do I want to do this year. It's just kind of evolved this way. And I love every bit of it.
I love hearing stories from people too, because I also think in our age, we sort of grew up in a wine culture too, where it was like, "Oh, my in-laws are coming. I'm gonna, like, have a bottle of wine in my closet while I get ready," or yeah, that's
Exactly.
sort of, like, how we coped with tough things, but I feel really lucky we got through this with the puppy, so I have one last question, which
Good
is,
morning.
for women that are listening who feel like, "Well, I haven't really hit a rock bottom, and I'm really functioning well, but there's just this, like, pesky thing that every night I come home and I'm opening a bottle of wine and I'm drinking a glass of wine, and I wish I could do something different." What advice would you give them about how to start this
I
journey?
think the shame spiral is one of the worst feelings there is. And I think the feeling of shame puts us on like such a low frequency, and it invites other really negative emotions about ourselves, self-loathing, self-doubt, insecurity. And that I would just say, think about 12-year-old you and what would she want for her life. And so be there for her and lean into your community and try to be radically honest with yourself about what you deserve, because we all deserve to feel good in our bodies and feel good in our skin. Um, that shame spiral, you can eliminate that from your life. And the hard work I would think for most is at the beginning, but it does get easier. And yeah, stick with it.
I love that. What would that little girl what would you tell that little girl? What did she want for you?
Mhm.
I love that, Kat. Thank you so much. This was a great conversation. I know our listeners are going to love it.
I am so excited for them to hear it. Thank you for asking such great questions, and I enjoyed it so much, and I can't believe he went to sleep when we started and he woke up when we finished. That was amazing.
Yes,
Yay!
and thank you for sharing your story. I hope it felt cathartic.
It did. It was good. It really, yes, again, I like to stop and really think about things like that. It was perfect.
Thanks so much, and thank you for listening to Sisters in Sobriety, and we will see you next week.